Yo everyone, I'm back. Pretty late. I mean, technically early, right? Because I said it would be on Tuesday. But yeah, we're back with the React stream today. I'll probably do another one on Tuesday. And I'll figure out my schedule for the rest of Ramadan. We got the hiccups. Anyway, let's start watching videos. Gotta switch to the React feed real quick and hit home. Okay, let's see. My guy, what the hell? Hold on. Netflix most point of Avatar. Nah. Nah. Honestly, this looks pretty interesting. What else? Why not? Alright, that's our 3 for today. We'll start off with infantilization, a Gen Z crisis. But fuck. It's Ramadan, I can't curse. I also gotta get in my more hyper mood. Alrighty, chat, today we're gonna be what? Can you guys not see it? Never mind, okay. Good morning, guys. Welcome back, Sparklets, and today we're going to be watching Infantilization, a Gen Z crisis. Thank you for coming by. Let's start the video. Wait, why is there no browser audio? Hold on. Because Okay, time to redo the intro again. Hi, welcome back, Sparklets. My name is Hexa. If you haven't been here before, fuck. Okay, redoing the intro. Hi, Sparklets. Welcome back. If you haven't been here before, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Hexa, and today we're going to be watching Infantilization, a Gen Z crisis. Now let's get into it.
Because I'm an evil genius, and you're just a kid, a stupid kid.
Hey, what's up? Infantilization is a term that often has been used for things. It generally emerges from the field of psychology to describe a form of abuse in which a competent adult or young adult is treated like a child. These days, it's become an increasingly popular buzzword to describe a vast array of phenomena. In this way, doing this series of videos has been super difficult for me, trying to pin down how to talk about infantilization. But I've noticed it as some sort of cultural thing, and I guess the way I'll start is through talking about this TikTok.
So it's 2 p.m. and I'm just done crying because people expect me to work. Do people not understand that I'm just a girl? What do you want from me?
Yeah, honestly, that's just like textbook definition of infantilization, or a victim of infantilization, because my sister in humanity. What do you mean? Why do people expect me to work? You are a fully grown adult. Hell, even if you're not a fully grown adult, like 16, 17, 15, high school, middle school, you're expected to work. So what do you mean? I'm just a girl. Why do people expect me to work? Because money, job, capitalism, yada yada yada. That's why.
I'm supposed to go to yoga classes, day drink with my girlfriends in a cute cafe, get massages, get my hair done, get my nails done, and that's it. That's supposed to be it. Like, give me a break. I'm just a girl. I'm supposed to just walk around, go shopping, and look cute, and that's it. Who told us that we needed to work?
So there.
Is that just not like an overgrown toddler throwing a tantrum, chat? Like, I don't even mean to be mean. I'm just being honest. That just looked like a fucking toddler throwing a tantrum to me.
There's about 5 things going on with this TikTok, and I want to start by wondering, is it satirical or not? I don't know the other content from the creator, and I don't want to make this whole thing a investigation into who they truly are. Really couldn't be bothered.
Oh, thank God it was sarcasm. Holy, I would have lost faith in humanity if that was actually real and not sarcastic.
Bothered with that. I'll just observe the TikTok on its own merit. To me, it seems like it has to be satirical to some degree. I mean, I cannot personally believe that Jazzy Baby, whoever this is this invested in this idea that girls truly should not be working. In fact, it kind of seems to me like something akin to a type of satirical TikTok that I did a year ago in the summer.
I don't think God put me on this earth to work hard. I think God put me on this earth to be an excellent vibe, to have immaculate taste.
And I'm starting to feel weird about that one too. The thing is,
Yeah.
who is the satire for? Who is it meant to be about? So some people found this.
It's meant to be about bums. People that got infantilized and now don't want to work. For lack of a better term, broke boys and broke bitches.
TikTok to be enraging online for a number of reasons. This Twitter account who tweeted it out seems to find it problematic from a feminist angle, a reduction of the supposed female experience to mere consumerism and beautification, a type of no thoughts, head empty girliness that almost mocks centuries of work done by activists and theorists to rebuke the ways in which society deems girls weak and ineffective at real labor, existing instead to be beside strong, productive men, essentially as commodities to signify their worth.
Come on, Stacy. I've waited my whole life to hear you speak. Don't you have anything relevant to say?
Don't ask me. I'm just a girl.
If a man said these things about women, that they're supposed to be shopping and not working.
Yeah. If any man said what she said, they'd get fucking executed, beheaded on the spot, King Louis XIV style. Like, do you not realize the double standard with some type of speech is just insane?
That they're supposed to stand there and look pretty, we would obviously react by deeming him a barbaric misogynist who dehumanizes women. On the other hand, the seeming satire at play leads some to think it's a subversion of work culture. Similar to the TikTok that I made, it plays on this idea that work is kind of dehumanizing as it stands in this society, and that maybe we should just like not work hard.
I mean, he should still work hard, but he's not wrong if it's specifically about minimum wage labor. Like Amazon factory workers, McDonald's workers, anything like that. Has gotten to the point where it's dehumanizing. Like to an extreme level. Hell, a robot decided it was more logical to turn itself off than continue working an Amazon job. Do you know how bad it has to be for a robot to decide it no longer wants to live anymore? I want to restate that a robot killed itself because of Amazon working conditions.
Which is a subversion of a common quality that everybody seems to want to work hard, you know? And it's funny to be like, I'm not meant to work, you know? Jazzy Baby doesn't quite say any of that, but the context of this kind of sentiment in TikToks like hers, or the overall I don't dream of labor trend, or the Chinese lay flat trend, can lead people to pretty easily associate her TikTok as being in line with those sentiments, which have grown popular among young Gen Z and millennial crowds suffering from mental health crises and growing dissatisfaction with the state of our late capitalist global economy. Then again, what if she's satirizing that? Some replies have wondered, what if instead her point is that this sentiment is so ridiculous that through this type of black-pilled ironic meta-humor, one can see just how pathetic and undaunting current young generations are, filled with young people who don't actually want to do anything about the world's problems, but instead are actively participating in their own infantilization, surrendering their agency and upholding exploitative systems that cater to the privileged and lazy in order to affirm their own sense of humanity while they benefit from the inhumane labor conditions of marginalized people. Again, it's impossible to know her intentions, but just from watching this video and seeing the bevy of very online reactions to it, you can kind of get a sense for the messiness. When we talk about the idea of infantilization, there's all these ideas of youth and gender that crash into each other. So much so that a video that seems to be some type of satire or conversation about it turns into some sort of illusion, like a rabbit duck illusion, just like this ambiguous image. And much like ambiguous images, these pieces of ambiguous content get interpreted differently depending on your own social biases. Here's one thing I've noticed about the topic. Infantilization can be both a way that the oppressor views the oppressed and a way that the oppressor displays themselves. The oppressor infantilizes the colonial subject, as French doctors did towards Maghrebi people in the 19th century, describing their pluralisme mental as symptomatic of some biological differences which make them less civilized.
Wait, how did we go from I'm just a girl to the infantilization of the colonized? Hold on. I blanked out for like 5 seconds. Why did we switch topics so drastically? French doctors.
More
Okay,
in
guys,
need
this
of
is going.
order and guidance. Simultaneously, it could be the way white women utilize their own performance of innocence and emotional purity to infantilize themselves when under scrutiny for participating in exploiting people of color. But when infantilization is self-perpetuated, who is the oppressed and who's the oppressor? And when is the infantilization actually infantilization? When are we treating someone like a child in a derisive way? And when are we just resorting to cuteness and nostalgia and things that are comforting? When we allow ourselves to play video games and wear silly clothes, when we question the harshness that we are given from exploitative systems and speak in favor of softer living amidst global pandemics, recessions, and fascist political movements, are we really treating ourselves with dismissal of our own agency? Or are we giving ourselves compassion? Or something else? Hold that thought. Let's talk about today's sponsor, Green Chef.
Okay, bro, we're gonna skip the sponsor, and I'm just gonna comment on that really quick. And say that I believe personally that the line is drawn between being silly and infantilization when the silliness starts getting to the point where you just cannot be serious and cannot be taken seriously. When it gets to that point, it's infantilization. Anything before it, go for it. Sure, be silly. For hell, I'm being a silly fanboy on the internet right now. Like, be silly to your heart's content. Just make sure you can actually lock in and get serious when the situation warrants it.
When you don't have much time, when you don't have few months have chef I do in the kitchen share of the every sustainably sourced shipping to
She's got a boyfriend. He's looking.
Given the ambiguous nature of infantilization as a term that gets used from everything from K-pop debates to, I don't know, euphoria discourse, it's something that I wanted to root out my own definition of. One of the ways I started was by asking my audience what they think infantilization is and examples that they notice of it in real life. Many of the responses talked about infantilization as connected to ableism, particularly from their own experiences. One reads,
I'm autistic and I get infantilized a lot. I've been to doctors who treat me like a regular 21-year-old, and then if I mention I'm autistic, they start using a baby voice. I was always seen as the cute and innocent one in high school. The other kids will be shocked if I understood dirty jokes or expressed.
Yeah, no, that's also something that commonly happens. I thankfully have not experienced this myself. But for autistic people, they tend to get infantilized a lot, especially from people who don't necessarily work around autistic people. I'm surprised doctors would infantilize someone though. Like, that's the shocking part to me, because as a doctor, you're not trained on how to handle all sorts of people.
Any interest in romance or sex.
A trans man who says he experiences a level of infantilization from within the trans community helps bring forth what seems to be a collectively agreed definition from the demographic watching my videos.
Intentionally or unintentionally being coddled for just existing.
Which, as another commenter puts it, means
being treated in a way that implies helplessness and robs you of your autonomy.
Sometimes the effects of this can feel relatively harmless, other times they can feel humiliating. One commenter, a 35-year-old woman with autism, described at length the kind of violation that she's experienced.
I try to tell people all the time, you can just talk and act normal to me. I may react a little slower sometimes, need a bit more time to process my thoughts, to answer your questions correctly, might make a weird noise sometimes when thinking really hard that you can just ignore. But please, just treat me as anyone else. People don't give me privacy. Just enter rooms in my home without asking.
What the fuck? I thought infantilization literally just meant treating them with a baby voice, and like treating them like they're helpless. Just depriving them of privacy is a whole other level of it. I did not know people would act that way just in general. Holy fuck, that's a shitty way to treat people.
Out my stuff, petting my plushies, asking if I view them as my children, stuff that makes you go what the fuck, and opening drawers, etc. Also, they're talking about me with me standing next to them or answering questions for me, which feels extremely degrading. And when I tell
if shit like that happens to me, I'm just gonna clock them. I'm being honest. Clock them physically or verbally. I don't care which one, but I'm doing it because what do you mean? You're treating me like I'm a fucking toddler when I'm a full-grown adult. I can vote, I can drink, I can drive. What do you mean you're treating me like I am a newborn child?
Tell people I want to speak myself. They tell me I can't because I'm autistic?
Simultaneously, infantilization can be described as a tool one can use to abdicate themselves of responsibility. The term is used sometimes to refer to phrases like boys will be boys, or the treatment of mass shooters, white male mass shooters that is. When Peyton Gendron was arrested for the 2022 Buffalo mass shooting, the Associated Press referred to him as a white teenager, which differed from their description of police brutality victim Michael Brown as a black man years before, despite the fact that both texts were referring to a 18-year-old. This point comes from a Choice 360.
I was gonna say, I mean, is it not accurate if the white one was like 17 and then the black one's 18? But calling the 18-year-old a teenager is just like kinda wrong. I mean, technically it's still accurate, but it's still incredibly academically dishonest of you to call an 18-year-old black male a black man and an 18-year-old white male a white teenager. You have to make them the same if you want to be intellectually honest. But as we know, pretty much every journalist is a morally bankrupt piece of shit and cannot be trusted.
The article called "We Must Stop Infantilizing White Mass Shooters and Treating BIPOC Youth as Adults," which takes a stance against both ends of uneven treatment of youth dependent on their identities. This phenomenon and its different incarnations clearly represents something different from the aforementioned phenomena. One describes a treatment of oppressed people by the oppressor. The other describes a treatment of oppressors by oppressors. The phenomena are so divergent that they must necessitate different terminology, and yet we use infantilization as a term for both oftentimes. This is because infantilization is not merely treating someone like a child, but of stratification to uphold social order. It's not merely about who gets to be a child, it's about who has to be a child and who cannot. It is a mechanism of assessing agency to uphold a narrative. We've talked often on this channel about the thin line between diagnosis and determinism. In our conversation with Noah Samson, we discussed how there's a reality to people having different brains with different dispositions, and how having certain types of brains in our society is an inconvenience to our efforts towards fitting into that society, but that the label of having a bad brain that needs to be fixed with medication is ultimately wrong-headed. It's an effort made by society to act as if the way things are is the way things ought to be, that our systems are natural. Infantilization of the autistic represents a choice forced on those who wish to participate in society. If the goal in life is to succeed at this game of going through school the normal.
Honestly, fuck the system entirely. I'm not playing that shit. I'm not playing the game. If I had to take if I quote unquote had to take medication, so I could function pretty much entirely normally without it and get along just fine, then I would just ditch the medication. Do my own thing.
Normal way and getting a job the normal way and living life the normal way, quote unquote. And where to note that there are folks who are set up from birth to not be able to succeed at this particular game with its particular set of social norms and rules. These people who are often, because of their biology, set up to just look at the world a different way, be a little bit different. Then we're to think their natural circumstance is the problem. They haven't been screwed by society, they've been screwed by their own brain. And thus, they represent beings without agency. Children, they are to be pitied, coddled, and then distanced from. Infantilization has always been tethered to marginalization. In the book Fathers and Children, Michael Paul Rogan analyzes how the parental relationship becomes a thematic backdrop for the colonization of the Americas and the genocide of indigenous peoples. He writes that in white narratives, natives were the children of nature, the sons of the forest. They were children because of their unrestrained impulses and because they remained unseparated from nature. Indians, in the white view, had never severed the maternal tie. This narrative, much like the infantilization of Maghrebi peoples by French imperialists, served infamously as the justification for civilizing populations. People of color have always been framed as needing guidance, needing to be saved from themselves. It's not that the white imperialists had a thirst.
Hold on. The White Man's Burden is a crazy title, though.
It's needing to be
like, what? What do you mean it's your
saved
burden?
From themselves.
They're
it's not that the
whole-ass
white
people.
imperialists had a thirst for profit and a willingness to commit atrocities in pursuit of satiation. The white man's burden was to sacrifice his safety and to donate his wealth to those willing to play by his rules, willing to buy into his narrative. The influence of this narrative on today's politics is not to be downplayed. Not only do they make up the foundation of American foreign and domestic policy, grounding suspicions of China in a quest to protect our youth, casting suspicions upon uncivil black and brown populations, and invading oil hotspots to liberate poor peoples from themselves. This way of thinking still holds influence even within leftist thought. Popular leftist narratives can be infantilizing towards the working class, suggesting that they simply need to be educated by smart, upstanding teachers so that they can realize what their lives are actually like. Paulo Freire describes thinking which chooses naturalizing narratives of human incapacity as sectarian. It is sectarian because it separates itself from humanization. In Pedagogy of the Oppressed, he says the rightist sectarian, who had previously termed a born sectarian, wants to slow down the historical process, to domesticate time, and thus to domesticate men and women. The leftist turned sectarian goes totally astray when he or she attempts to interpret reality and history dialectically and falls into essentially fatalistic positions. This distinction, this key distinction, is a huge part of a problem that we experience as people who want to change things. We want to imagine a better world, one wherein we can liberate ourselves from bad systems.
True. People are naturally dreamers that want to go big.
But we inherit so much sectarianism, even in the process of recognizing all of this. We get our news and our discourse from corporate social media apps run by fascist sympathizers. We favor the content most popular within their algorithms. We get our foundation of education and socialization from the same society we seek to deconstruct. It's no wonder we are so often self-hating in our praxis. We haven't reconciled the dehumanizing concepts within us. Maybe that's a conversation for another essay. What's relevant here is how this distinction shows how fluidly infantilization can go from the ableism my audience describes to the self-infantilization that oppressors utilize. It's the same thing. It's dehumanization. This is what Freire speaks about when he says the oppressors and
I'm gonna be honest, chat. There's like nothing to react to here. We're gonna swap this video out for something else. Because I'm not gonna upload just some junk. Where's me barely saying anything for 90% of the video. I gotta think about like what I want to watch and what would be good to react to. I can't just go around wasting time watching anything. Alright,
Hello friends, and happy 420, or at least it is 420 as I'm filming this. Now I got a lot of comments on my last video like, why—
You shut up. Who is Aquafina and why do they have to stop hiring her? Anyways, practice today we're gonna be watching Stop Hiring Aquafina and Bring Back Real Voice Actors. Let's get into it.
Hollywood needs to hire real voice actors again. Back in the 1950s, it was uncommon for more than one animated film to make it to theaters per year. But nowadays, at least a dozen are guaranteed to hit the big screen. This is partly because the technological advances of the 21st century have made the animation process less arduous, allowing more studios to flourish, but another part of the equation is the growing popularity of animated films in general, with the genre bringing in billions of dollars.
Both are true, and I believe at least some of it can also be attributed to how anime has become close to being mainstream over the course of COVID. But the advancement in technology has also, like the video said, played a massive role in how many animated movies can come out. But again, going back to the anime, I feel like pre-COVID, most animated films felt like they were just for kids. Anything animated is for kids, it's childish, adults shouldn't watch it. But now we have a bunch of animated stuff coming out that's for everyone, and even adults are going to watch animated movies like Minions.
Dollars at the box office annually. Unfortunately, these financial successes have resulted in many studios choosing to prioritize quantity over quality, with an increased amount of recent animated releases phoning it in and simply basing their stories on pre-existing IP. Even on the rare occasions when we do see films that have an original premise, they often wind up following a formula we've seen time and time again. Case in point, Disney's adorkable female characters, which I have a video all about. Now these adorkable girls are by no
Hey, we might watch that. Sounds interesting.
Means the only offenders. In fact, there's another unimaginative character type that's even more pervasive in the animation industry, one that transcends genres and studios.
Okay, based on them showing Kung Fu Panda, I can already tell it's gonna be the chosen one, kinda like Po.
Haunting me wherever I go.
And now I want to sit back and relax and enjoy my evening, when all of a sudden I hear this agitating, grating voice.
I've recently been doing a good amount of traveling, and as is custom, I spent those 50+ hours taking full advantage of the in-flight entertainment. So imagine my surprise when not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 of the animated films I wound up watching featured the same aggravating character with the exact same aggravating voice, Awkwafina. For those unfamiliar, Awkwafina first got her start back in the early 2010s by making satirical rap songs online, and she used that virality to break into the entertainment industry. This began in 2016 with a part in Neighbors 2, as well as a small voice role in Storks, her first foray into animation. Initially, Awkwafina was primarily known for her distinctive voice, awkward behavior, and crude humor, making her a popular choice in comedies, where she often...
Honestly, those all used to be like really solid ways to get known online. But I feel like now that it mostly gets you hated on, which I mean, again, is entirely a valid strat depending on what you're going for with your content.
Often played sassy and self-deprecating characters. 2019's The Farewell was a short-lived shift towards more dramatic and serious roles, but it was quickly followed up by more comedies where she played the same wisecracking goofball as always. This typecasting was even present in animation, as seen with her character in 2019's Angry Birds 2, Courtney. Now admittedly, Angry Birds 2 is pretty low-hanging fruit. Not only is it a sequel to a movie that's based on an app, but it was also pretty blatant about its lack of a decent storyline, hence its primary marketing strategy of celebrity cameos. The most obvious of these stunt casts were David Dobrik.
But, huh? I did not know about the celebrity casting, but that may just be due to me being a little dummy and not being able to tell people from their voices.
Jojo Siwa and Colleen Ballinger, who were crammed into the film in order to appeal to their massive child fan bases, which is pretty ironic in hindsight. In 2019, Awkwafina was by no means a household name, so her casting in Angry Birds 2 wasn't a total red flag. But the movie as a whole was reflective of an unfortunate trend within the animation industry, which was that the character wasn't as important as the person who voiced them. For most of the 20th century, studios hired professional voice actors or character actors for animated projects, caring less about name recognition and more about the quality of work. Besides voice actors being more experienced in that department, showcasing a vocal range that the average A-list screen actor didn't have, they also weren't as costly, allowing that portion of the budget to go towards the screenwriting or animation departments. It wasn't until more recently that that changed, thanks in large part to the casting of Robin Williams as the genie in Disney's 1992 film, Aladdin. According to the producers, the genie was directly inspired by Williams, who was known for his improvisational skills and impressions, behaviors that influenced the character's transformative nature from the very start of production. Williams initially accepted the role.
That's honestly really cool. How they took a character based on someone and made it entirely unique and funny without relying on the person it's based on. Unlike modern animation.
As a favor, asking for only $80,000 instead of his usual $8 million. His one and only condition, that Disney not use his casting as a marketing tactic. They, of course, ignored him. There's actually a lot more to this story that I don't really want to get into now, but Lindsay Ellis has a great video about it over on her channel that I'd highly recommend.
I stand corrected, literally 5 seconds after I said that. Turns out, nope, they've been doing it from the start. Well, fuck me, I guess.
And if you want to learn more. All you really need to know for now is that upon the release of Aladdin, the film saw immediate critical and commercial acclaim, which Disney was quick to credit to Robin Williams' casting and their subsequent marketing of that fact. This set a precedent, and Disney's subsequent 90s releases saw the casting of big-name celebrities for roles that would have once gone to voice actors. Mel Gibson was in Pocahontas, Matthew Broderick, Jeremy Irons, and Whoopi Goldberg were in The Lion King, Demi Moore and Kevin Kline were in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Danny DeVito and James Woods were in Hercules, and Eddie Murphy was in Mulan.
Hold on. Where is he? Did Danny DeVito play what was his name? I forgot. That's one guy from Henry Danger. Hold on. Henry Danger cat. There was a movie? Shit. Where is he? No, that's Michael D. Cohen. Schwarz. They look alike though. I recognize Danny DeVito from somewhere. I just can't put my finger on it. Where do I recognize him from?
DeVito and James Woods were in Hercules, and Eddie Murphy was in Mulan. Now, Disney wasn't the only company that used celebrity casting as a marketing strategy in the 90s, with Anastasia casting Meg Ryan, John Cusack, Kelsey Grammer, and Christopher Lloyd, while The Prince of Egypt cast Val Kilmer, Ray Fiennes, Michelle Pfeiffer, Sandra Bullock, and many, many more. But honestly, I don't really blame them for it, because if you were going up against Disney back in those days, you needed all the help you could get. The mouse played dirty. By the 2000s, the practice had become the norm, with everything from Shrek to Ice Age to Madagascar to robots committing to celebrity casting, with professional voice actors being
Shrek. I deadass do not remember Shrek having any celebrity casting, but like I said, I am an airhead dummy who cannot recognize people by their voices.
Relegated to TV, direct-to-video sequels, and additional voices. Some of these A-list celebrities definitely brought something special to their performances. I couldn't imagine anyone but James Woods as Hades, but others are nondescript enough that I have to wonder, were they actually the best choice for that role? Especially if some of their singing parts were done by an actual voice actor, because at that point, why not hire the voice actor to begin with? Sure, Jay Baruchel was a great choice for Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon, but that sort of dweeby sound could have been pulled off by tons of professional voice actors. Now, this isn't to say that people who first rose to prominence for their on-screen performances can't be successful voice actors. Case in point, Mark Hamill, Robin Williams, Seth Green, and Alan Tudyk. Not only have they given some great individual performances, but they've even voiced multiple characters on the same project. And if you can do that and not have anyone notice, then you're not going to hear any complaints from me.
Yeah, it's honestly crazy how many voices some people can make, which, like, respect. I have no idea how you would start acquiring a skill like that.
Certain celebrities like Sandra Bullock, Brad Pitt, Michelle Pfeiffer, or John Cusack, their voices might sound familiar to the average person, but you're not immediately going to recognize them as soon as they open their mouths, which I actually think is the ideal scenario when it comes to celebrity voice castings, as it makes them more of a blank canvas, allowing them to play a wider variety of animated characters. So even on the off chance you do recognize their voice, you're not automatically reminded of their other roles and comparing them. Whereas with celebrities who do have more distinctive voices, ones you could do an impression of, like Danny DeVito, Eddie Murphy, Jerry Seinfeld, or Awkwafina, there isn't as much flexibility, because the audience already associates their voice with certain behaviors and projects. That isn't to say that everyone who hears Danny DeVito is immediately going to think of Frank Reynolds, but you're probably going to assume a curmudgeonly old man is talking, which the animation industry is thankfully aware of, resisting the urge to have him voice hunky prince types. Awkwafina's voice, on the other hand, which is gravelly and loud, with the occasional emphasis on the wrong syllable, reads as obnoxious and juvenile. At least to me, and I'm always left thinking of a tween chomping on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, so she can pretty much only be casted as these, like, annoying ass characters that just, like, are meant to be unlikable.
Shouting into a headset while playing Fortnite.
I'm obnoxious.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that sort of voice, as long as it's appropriate for the situation, which unfortunately is rarely the case when Awkwafina's concerned.
Oh no, he's doing a voice!
Take for instance 2021's Raya and the Last Dragon. If you watch the film, Sisu is a naive goofball, which isn't a bad direction to go in considering Raya's more serious personality. But because Awkwafina is constantly cracking jokes and inserting pop culture references, instead of her inexperience coming across as charming, like Ariel, it feels more annoying. almost like she's being ignorant on purpose as a gag. It's the type of thing that wouldn't be an issue if it were a smaller role, but as one of the protagonists, it makes the film hard to watch because you can't identify with a character you're supposed to root for.
It's hot. Ooh, it's hot. It's hot. It's really hot. Oh, water. Look at my people arms and my people face. Look how close my butt is to my head.
Something about Awkwafina's exaggerated delivery also winds up making Sisu feel too self-aware. Like the character knows she's in a movie, so she's trying to ham things up.
Yeah, which you definitely do not want, especially in one of these types of movies where it's actually trying to tell a story.
For the audience, which conflicts with the overall tone of the film. According to Disney, Awkwafina did a good deal of improv that wound up making its way into the film, which I think negatively impacted the character. Sisu's a magical dragon, not a comedian from Queens, but that's how Awkwafina decided to play her, and as a result, there's very little that differentiates Sisu from any of Awkwafina's other characters.
But then I saw it wasn't you, it was her. But it wasn't in the mirror, except she had your voice. Ow!
Are you listening to me?
Yes.
You'd think the sort of obnoxious quality of her voice would have worked for Scuttle in 2023's Little Mermaid, but it doesn't. In the original film, even though Scuttle has absolutely no idea what he's talking about, he always pretends that he does, requiring his voice to have a sense of intelligence and confidence. He's irritating, but still likable. Awkwafina's version of the character is more ditzy, at least when she's not squawking, making Ariel's trust in her more of a stretch. I get that the "it's a bird so its voice is annoying" thing was done on purpose, but it's just really unpleasant to listen to. Like some random kid holding their finger in your face screaming, "I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you."
Yeah, it honestly does just give off that type of vibes. But I feel like she's playing into the annoying aspects of her voice way too much because she knows it is practically the only way she can get casted.
Time to turn this baby on beast mode.
In 2022's Bad Guys, Awkwafina shouts more sparingly, and while that succeeds in making her a bit easier to listen to, the hoarseness of her voice still doesn't work for the character. Miss Tarantula is supposed to be confident and mischievous, not sound like she's getting over a cold.
What? Did you just call me?
Sorry, I thought your name was Chump.
Yeah, Chump. Yeah, that's my name. What?
In 2023's Migration, where she plays a streetwise pigeon named Chump, her voice works a bit better for the character, largely because the vocal fry actually does make her sound like an old person. But I'll have to be honest, she isn't intimidating at all, which is sort of what you need for a mob boss type of character. So just like Scuttle, everything that's coming out of her mouth just isn't super believable.
This is like,
you got me. Oh, great and powerful.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Imagine if, like, going back to Schwarz, imagine if instead of who actually played the Godfather and the Godfather, it was the guy who played Schwarz, or Danny DeVito. It would just not work at all. I'm just being honest.
Bling warrior.
In 2024's Kung Fu Panda 4, she continues to disappoint. Even though Zhen and Sisu are supposed to be pretty different, Awkwafina plays them the same way, to the extent that they even make similar jokes. While you could place part of the blame on the writing, which is definitely not as strong as the original Kung Fu Panda trilogy, I wouldn't be surprised if some of Awkwafina's improv made the final cut, meaning that once again, she's pushing her own personality onto the character, instead of letting the character's personality direct her performance. Regardless of their species, age, background, or importance to the story, all of Awkwafina's characters have had one main shtick: sarcasm. Now that's by no means unheard of. Just look at Timon in The Lion King, the fairy godmother in Shrek, Kuzco in The Emperor's New Groove, or Nani in Lilo and Stitch. But those aren't their only personality traits. Those characters are unique, and as a result, their voices are unique. But nowadays, if an animated character is remotely snarky, they immediately bring in Awkwafina, and because she only knows how to play herself, the character suffers as a result, only being remembered for their sass. In animation, the audio is just as important as the visuals. Certain accents, tones, timbres, and cadences have developed connotations over the years, and these different vocal qualities can tell you as much about an animated character as their appearance does. That's why professional voice actors like Jim Cummings, Tara Strong, Seth MacFarlane, Nick Kroll, Jennifer Hale, and Nancy Cartwright have developed dozens of different voices for their wide array of characters. It helps tell the story. Some voice actors like H. John Benjamin, Patrick Warburton, Jenny Slate, and Kristen Shaw tend to use their normal voices, but because of their experience in the industry, they're still blank slates, not pushing pre-existing personalities onto their characters. Case in point, Bob Belcher and Sterling Archer, two identical sounding characters who couldn't possibly be more different. Also, these actors can alter their voices to sound different when the situation calls for it, which makes it clear that the decision to use their normal voice is a creative one, not one born from a lack of ability. Time and time again, Awkwafina has proven that she doesn't have the range that's expected of an actual voice actor, and yet, she continues to be cast, purely because the industry has decided that a name is more important than a good person.
Surely she's an industry plant at this point, right? Like, there is no other way she'd be having this much success with so little skill relative to the other possible talents. She has to be an industry plant.
Performance. Although Awkwafina has been the focus of this video, she's far from the only celebrity securing voice roles for shallow reasons, with one of the most notable examples being Hollywood's worst Chris Pratt. Pratt began his stint of voice roles with 2014's The Lego Movie, where I actually think his voice worked since Emmett is a normal, boring dude.
Wait, Chris Pratt played Emmett in the Lego Movie? What the hell? Why am I finding so much about my favorite childhood movies now?
Absolutely no unique interests. Following the success of the film, and the general push in Hollywood to make Pratt a household name with Jurassic World and Guardians of the Galaxy, he quickly became one of the most popular celebrity voice casts, even for films that he had no business being in. In 2020's Onward, 2023's The Super Mario Bros. Movie, and 2024's Garfield, Pratt continued to use his normal voice, which, as we said, is incredibly generic, making it a poor fit for the characters in question. Like, you're trying to tell me that Garfield, a notoriously lazy cat with a ravenous appetite, just sounds like some guy? I don't think so.
Yeah, nah, that does not work.
Awkwafina, Pratt can pull off different accents and voices, but for some reason, all that comes out in the recording booth is more of the same. Although the animation industry seems to truly believe that celebrities are the reason these films have been bringing in the big bucks, I don't think it has anything to do with it. It's the story. That's what's important. Or at least that's what's important to me. Instead of spending millions of dollars on a middling performance from an A-list celebrity, I'd much prefer it if the studios took that money and hired someone who could actually bring the character to life. And while they're at it, they could pay their animators and
Danny DeVito played the Lord Haggs, what the fuck?
writers better too. Because if I have to sit through Frozen 5 or Despicable Me 7, where half the cast is voiced by Awkwafina, Chris Pratt, and James Corden, I'll have to go and shut down their computers myself. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!
Well, that was an interesting video. I'm not sure what I want to do anymore. Honestly, it's Ramadan, so I think I'm gonna call it today now and take a nap. But thank you all for coming by. We're probably gonna have a more productive or better React stream on Tuesday, and then from there it's gonna be close to my normal schedule. But I'll see you all next time. We're gonna be raiding out. Just gotta figure out to who, since pretty much no one I normally raid out who is online right now.